My name is Chris Morgan. I work for Bloomberg. In this talk, I'm not speaking for Bloomberg. I can prove it to you because Bloomberg still uses Twitter, and I'm going to express hostility to Twitter, but I'm always supposed to give that disclaimer. So this is, technically, it's supposed to be an interactive session, so this document is available on this link here. You're welcome to open it right now, jump in, read ahead, add text. The idea is to get some feedback from you folks. However, I realize that most of these presentations are just presentations. They're a one-way thing, slides. So I'm going to do it like that, but if you want to do a side quest into some topic, you can type in here, you can stick your hand up. This is meant to be a working session. Okay, so what is this topic about? This is about the OpenStack Ops meetup. So for many years, myself and the team would organize meetups for OpenStack operators, and we did them around the world. We had great participation from big companies, small companies, consultancies, and we put on events, in London, Tokyo, Mexico City, etc. But recently, it's kind of all fallen by the wayside. The current organization, if you will, is kind of asleep. And the actual meetups team is pretty much myself and Eric McCormick there at the front. Say hi, Eric. So the purpose of this is to, by the way, is it readable? Do I need to make the text bigger? Okay. I'll make the URL really big for just for a minute there if anyone wants to make a note of it. Okay. So the purpose of this is to see if there's an appetite to relaunch it and to find out if there are ways, because when we took over this from an Open Infra Foundation staffer who originally launched it, it was kind of all set. How do we do this? Like, how is it organized? What media? And that's kind of stopped working. Motivation for doing this, well, it's related to OpenStack. The commercial pressures mean that there's a resurgence of OpenStack. Proprietary virtualization solutions, naming no names, have put up their prices massively. I get questions where I work about, hey, do you have something that's just like this solution but isn't 10 times as expensive going forward? Well, the answer is no. There's also political reasons. The issues of self-hosting, data sovereignty, compliance with data protection laws are kind of in higher focus. There's talk of European users of megascalers being nervous about their data being in those companies. And then just, it was pretty cool. We actually, as I say, we did these events all around the world, and we drove some change back into OpenStack from the operator's perspective. So for example, we found ourselves running OpenStack where the documentation for that version had been deleted off the website. Nope, can't have it anymore. We tried to find out why, and it turns out that there were technical reasons which could be solved, and so from the OpenStack Mitaka release, the documentation lives on long after the software support. That was great. In fact, we actually still have 4 OpenStack Mitaka installations there. Super legacy, not supported, the hardware is falling apart, but if we needed to, the documentation's still there on the website. We also kicked off or participated in early discussions that led to skip level upgrades now, I think, replaced by the slurp upgrade process. That pretty much just means you can go from this version of OpenStack to 2 forward much more easily with some kind of guarantee of basic health testing that's known to work. But also just a lot of technical collaboration between OpenStack operators saying, hey, are you using this, are you using that? What problems did you run into? Oh yeah, you need to, like if you're doing Ceph, for instance, there was a lot of exchange of just hints and tips about how to make it fast, make it reliable, versions to avoid. So there's a lot of motivation here, but we've had some false starts, and there's also a lot of challenges. So the thing that really knocked it for 6 was, that's a Britishism, I was born in Britain if you don't know. Someone could translate that into baseball probably. The COVID, well, it's an expression of being knocked out basically, it's a KO. So COVID really halted it dead. No in-person meetings could happen. We were all stuck at home on Zoom for the most part. Second problem, as I alluded to, the actual communication media are hopelessly fractured now. So for example, we used to use Twitter. It was great. There was an Ops Meetup Twitter account. We would post on that, and we would get much better engagement on that than we would on the mailing list or on IRC. So the operators were kind of out there. They weren't actually staffers or developers of OpenStack, and so they don't have to comply with the idea that, hey, you guys are on the mailing list and you do the IRC thing. A lot of the OpenStack operators I met had no idea about IRC or the mailing list. And to this day, now that we have just a single OpenStack mailing list, there don't seem to be many operators there. Like I've posted questions, no response. It's a bit of a fire hose, right? It's a lot. I mean, it's filling up my Gmail. I'm sure it's filling up all your Gmail, right? And it's just not mandatory. You might be running a huge OpenStack thing. You don't have to be on that mailing list. You don't have to do IRC. For example, we did a meetup in Mexico City. The local community there organized their side of the proceedings on a Slack team, OpenStack LATAM. I mean, how would you know, right? So there's one of the fractures, right? Some people use Slack. As I mentioned, IRC is not universal to operators. Speaking personally, I'm not allowed to use it at the office at all. It's blocked. And even web, IRC Cloud, I think it's called, if I load that website, it puts my laptop into this kind of panic-struck, like super sandbox mode. I can't use the clipboard, right? So it sucks, right? Saying, oh yeah, just use IRC. Okay, that's an opinion, right? And then some other challenges. We used to get volunteer hosts to say, yeah, come and do it at our campus. We'll lay on the Wi-Fi, there'll be coffee, and that kind of all dried up as well. Then, some sickness, like I got COVID 3 times in 2023. Travel budgets have been slashed. Certain countries are not a nice place to visit. Try not to politicize this too much, but it's like right there, right now. And the team, as I mentioned, is just about 2 people. But there are opportunities. There are Twitter-like things all over the place. I happen to think that Mastodon might be a good choice. The foundation jumped onto Mastodon initially on Fostodon. I have a link here. They also have their own instance hosted at OpenInfra now. I have a link here. I have my own Mastodon. It's not that hard. Honestly, if you can do OpenStack, you can certainly do Mastodon. So I was actually very bullish about that, everyone should just kick Twitter to the curb, just use Mastodon. But honestly, the engagement is just not there right now. So maybe that's not the answer. And I don't know what the answer is, by the way. There isn't some reveal at the end that says, what we're going to do is this, right? What I want is to actually hear, is there something that we could agree on? I've had opinions, other opinions. Some say Blue Sky. Well, Blue Sky is owned by some murky, crypto-oriented people. It's not clear. It's not strictly Fediverse or decentralized. You can't host the entire thing yourself. You can kind of host parts of it, but basically it's no more resistant to doing a Twitter than Twitter was. Threads, well, that's fully centralized and owned by Facebook. I thought there was a hand up now. Slack, Slack has free teams. Seems nice, right? Well, if you don't want them to delete the content, you have to pay per person per month. So that's not really good. Not for building a community with like a knowledge base. Someone yesterday mentioned to me, Matrix. Matrix is great. Maybe it is. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know, right? So I'm literally saying to you, I don't know. Please give me feedback. And then, these are all text-based media. Oh, there's a hand. Julia. It's to see if there's an appetite to relaunch the idea of Ops meetups, and if so, how should we do it? Because if I discuss it on Mastodon and Spots discusses it on Matrix, we'll never get anywhere, right? No offense, I'm not trying to call you out. But text communication, is maybe not the most natural way to pull in new people. So, for instance, we're all of us pretty good video conferencers now. We do Zoom. I see someone is actually typing into the document. Thank you, whoever you are. Trying to prove that this is supposed to be an interactive, but you don't have to. We all do Zoom, I presume, or a lot of us do. But there's also Jitsi, which the foundation actually had a thing called Meetpad, which was a Jitsi-backed meeting with Zoom conferencing facility. Okay, I just couldn't find it when I did a quick look when I was doing this. Okay, great to know. So, if one of the challenges is that the old things, the mailing list and the IRC were kind of old-fashioned, and the people who might want to jump into a relaunched community need more modern things, then maybe things like video conferencing and Slack, or other things like Slack, maybe that's the way. I see a suggestion here, Discord. I don't know, is it free forever? Merch. Okay. Okay, so that seems worth examining. So I just want to show you the rest of the page. So I'm going to skip cache questions because that's really the center point of it. So further down, I linked to the fairly elderly resources that the team built up before. So there's a landing page. There's past events details. Fantastic treasure trove of the Etherpads just like this from those events with lots and lots of topic-specific pages. There's pain points, lightning talks, Ceph tuning, installation tool discussions, the meetings of the old Ops Meetup team on IRC, which used to be, I think, every other week. And then I did put a feedback session here. Please do, if you have suggestions, good or bad, fill that in now or later. And then I put an attendees list at the bottom if you want to make yourself reachable for this discussion. One thing we probably all do have is email. So you're welcome to email me or Eric, but also you're welcome to share your name and your email here if you wish, so that if this discussion carries on, we can update people that way. Okay, so back to this section. Is there a future for Ops meetups? So physical meetups are expensive. We don't have hosting offers right now. And when you actually do host these things, it's non-trivial. For it to work well, you really need to have some breakfast and some lunch. Otherwise, it's you lose a lot of time when people turn up and they're like, oh, I need a coffee, I'll just nip out. You need facilities like this, projector, big screen, Wi-Fi, power outlets. You really can't just book a meeting room and do it. We had, I think, some of them were around 100 people. Tokyo, there was one in Philadelphia, right, probably about 10 years ago now. That was so huge it had to be split into 2 rooms. And it actually overflowed from Comcast HQ into some other local thing. So maybe the first thing to do is to actually say, you know what, we should actually get together virtually. So Zoom, Jitsi, maybe Meetpad. And that kind of thing can be much, much easier for people to build into their timetable, especially one thing that we always wanted to do was be equally inclusive to different global regions. So we would arrange the events to be, like one in North America, one in APAC, etc. Well, if you have a Zoom, you can do it, North America time zone one time, and then the next one can be convenient for APAC folks. And the last 2 questions, is anyone interested in actually joining in, maybe just to lead the discussion to get it off the ground? And the big question, if we are going to do something, where should we hang out? Because as I mentioned, there's a little bit of discussion on each of the half a dozen platforms. It doesn't get anywhere. And I put it to the room. Any comments, input? Tony.
In terms of should you have one, I think absolutely you should have one. My personal preference, and I know this has been suggested before, but we're a different time now, post-COVID, et cetera, is that you could leverage the infrastructure we have for the predictive teams gathering and just have an ops meetup track. You could be a team at PTG. Really, that's just a scheduling thing, right? PTG has time zone blocks that are free per day, and they're typically 2 regions are included and one is excluded. So there's a Europe APAC one, which is really good, but it sucks for North America. So that's how we handle the time zone thing. We've got all of the video conferencing stuff there. If you don't want to use Meetpad, you don't have to use Meetpad. I think that would be a good place to reduce the overhead of hosting a virtual meeting because 70% of the infrastructure is there for you.
That's an interesting idea. I will call you out, but
that was exactly what I was going to say.
Okay. Let me say, though, that we did actually attend PTG physically,
Yes.
and we actually had a track. And
Yes.
what it turned out is Eric and I are sitting in a room. The developer turns up and says, hey, I want to ask the operators a question. What do you think about delegated roles? And we're like, he's like, well, I need to ask the operators.
Yep.
It's like, I don't have them in my pocket. Like, if we attend PTG, I don't have a Rackspace guy who knows Megascale. I don't have someone who's, running maybe pure software with KVM, right? Like so, we can attend and we can advocate and try and say, operators come to PTG, but like we didn't actually, even in the before times, get many.
Right.
So we might have to rethink how we do the outreach. Yes.
How you get that out there. So that really comes down to the bigger question about communicating with all these disparate organizations that don't have potential to gain a lot of benefit from participating, but they're not, it's not mandatory. As you said early on, right? There's nothing that means me as an operator of a very small OpenStack cloud, I don't have to participate in the ops meetup to do what I'm doing with my data, right?
Yeah, I don't even have to be aware of such things.
Absolutely. That is.
So, but that's a great idea. We're obviously, in lieu of the operating meetup, we've come into the Open Infra days, right? Indiana, this one, maybe PTG is the way. So I think you said your point was going to be the same as.
I was literally going to say PTG sounds like the thing you're describing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest problem is the communication and the outreach.
The next person I think whose hand up was Julia and then Amy.
I think it's necessary to disambiguate the high performance perception versus getting the same impression as the other. And I think, honestly, have a little team Slack. I do not like Slack, but we do actually.
Very even know.
That's the worst community organizer.
Is that not Harry Ford?
That's just perfect. Yeah, I mean, it's so easy and so redundant.
Yeah, we've got to do something because you're right. IRC is not some teams aren't currently in some environment. Some organizations I've been at outright discriminate.
My company.
Yes. And well, I worked at North Service, so we get it there.
Yeah.
But the reality is that we need something to have that regular touch point. To be able to go, oh, hey, other operators, you mentioned something about the last time we talked. And then have the opportunity to also turn that discussion to, hey, we should have a let's have instead of us operators talk about this one challenge. And let's try and leverage that into, oh, we should get some developers. Oh, we know some people we can assign some people separate. Talk to us about it. Try and build that collaboration. Because I think we need to disambiguate the problem and not focus on just one solution, but several solutions.
Okay.
So
Could I
probably
be very cheeky and ask you to actually write that onto the Etherpad?
very good.
Okay. Okay. That's so. If people aren't familiar with Etherpad, the different colors creeping in here are each individual person who's adding their thoughts. So it's really useful. So if you join this Etherpad, you can type something. It'll be a different color. This thing is actually a really useful tool. I looked for open info meetpad and I didn't immediately find it, so,
Meetpad.openviz.org.
okay.
Meetpad.openviz.org.
I think my thing just disconnected.
Oh, anyway, it's there. I don't want to go down so that you have to use that thing, because that's not the point. It's just saying a lot of the infrastructure to help organize a virtual meetup could be there for you if you schedule them at the same time as the meeting. But as Julie was saying, that's the high bandwidth, get people in a room type stuff. But where to hang out and how to get the word out about that virtual meetup, that's, I don't have an answer for that one. If there's a floating Slack already, use me. Make a Slack. Give me a link. It's funny how many people have to use Slack more than another.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah, me too.
All right, so this all looks good though. So what we tried to do a couple years ago was to have an each of the developer track an operator friendly feedback loop. Did not come up with a great job of inviting the operators to the sessions. Most of them are really well attended except for me. And like OpenStack, I'm told you that's always been operator friendly. Um, so I like Tony's idea of a separate track around certain times, and you do the schedule right. You do not schedule on top of other things so that it makes it easier to invite someone into your session. So if you take like 6 to 9, leave it open, and you keep it to like at 10, you can say, hey, could you join me again at 8 to 9 in case there's a representative? That could work out well. I know in Berlin, the also outdoor area had a need for more over telecom facilities to accommodate the large group. So I do agree there should be a dedicated spot when we're live and in person. Um, so another thing to think about is because we do have Open Info Europe coming, we do not have the PHP out yet because we don't have dates. No. So it will be in Europe, most likely in the fall. We will have more information hopefully shortly, but we do not know. But we very easily add some forum tracks or embed for the operators, or even in locations we can get those to the early unit live. We'll have a 1 day out to meet up in person. But I would probably say let's maybe get some forum sessions in so that everyone can come. Okay, so those are options.
But this still doesn't, to be perfectly honest, this still doesn't solve the problem of, there's OpenStack users out there, and there's a million ways that we might be talking to them. We haven't picked one. The standard official ones don't work.
So we do still have an operator channel on Matrix and IRC, so we could go to Matrix or bring them together. Most of the time, 95% of the time, it brings everyone. So we should still have that.
One minute.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to point out that no one single meeting is a problem. It is.
Yeah.
It takes two or three.
And we're getting frustrating with because a lot of people, I mean,
Okay, I imagine everyone could hear Jimmy, but basically he said, counting by engagement, the two biggest forums are actually LinkedIn and Reddit, judging by where people using OpenStack are asking questions. So that's actually really good information. I think I'm out of time now, so thank you very much. Any questions? Yep.
It's almost like we need a slow channel communication, we need medium channel communication channels, and then we need high bandwidth engagement, sort of engagement. And I think there's a spectrum. It's hard for us to solve that problem because while people focus on our conversion, and you're right, we have to break out of that conversion.
Kendall.
Just, if you decided right now you want to continue this discussion, we can continue, and then I can help facilitate that, and if you know that that's not a goal, then we can just keep on.
I think the answer is definitely yes. We should continue this discussion. Yeah. Okay. Well, now I think I really am officially out of time. Thanks.